Devaya Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Prabhupada's purport. Here is another explanation of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the supreme, and at the same time a plaything in the presence of his pure devotee. The Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only. And while discharging such devotional service, the pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of his devotees more relishably when the service is rendered spontaneously out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotees in a reverential attitude, but the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Goloka Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. The friends of Krishna consider him one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. The parents of the Lord, who are all pure devotees, consider him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his fiancées more palatably than the Vedic hymns. When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest his eternal pastimes of the transcendental realm of Goloka Vrindavan as an attraction for the people in general, he displayed a unique picture of subordination before his foster mother, Yashoda. The Lord, in his naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pots and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. This picture of the Lord is adored by Kunti Devi because she is conscious of the Lord's supreme position. He is feared often by fear personified, yet he is afraid of his mother, who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as her child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. But she was made to forget this situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childness before the affectionate Yashoda. This exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way. And Kunti, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental maternal love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. 32. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. Purport. Because the Lord's appearance in this material world is bewildering, there are different opinions about the birth of the unborn. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he takes his birth in the material world, although he is the Lord of all creations, and he is unborn. So there cannot be any denial of the birth of the unborn, because he himself establishes the truth. But still, there are different opinions as to why he takes his birth. That is also declared in the Bhagavad Gita. He appears by his own internal potency to establish the principles of religion and to protect the pious and to annihilate the impious. That is the mission of the appearance of the unborn. Still, it is said that the Lord is there to glorify the pious King Yudhishthir. Lord Sri Krishna certainly wanted to establish the kingdom of the Pandavas for the good of all in the world. When there is a pious king ruling over the world, the people are happy. When the ruler is impious, the people are unhappy. In the age of Kali, in most cases the rulers are impious, and therefore the citizens are also continuously unhappy. But in the case of democracy, the impious citizens themselves elect their representative to rule over them, and therefore they cannot blame anyone for their unhappiness. Maharaj Nala was also celebrated as a great pious king, but he had no connection with Lord Krishna. Therefore, Maharaj Yudhishthira is meant here to be glorified by Lord Krishna. The Lord had already glorified King Yadu, having taken birth in his family. Although he is known as Yadava, Yaduvira, Yadunandana, etc., he is always independent of such obligation. He is just like the sandalwood that grows in the Malaya hills. Trees can grow anywhere and everywhere, yet, because the sandalwood trees grow mostly in the area of the Malaya hills, the name sandalwood and the Malaya hills are interrelated. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Lord is ever unborn like the sun, and yet he appears as the sun rises on the eastern horizon. As the sun is never the sun of the eastern horizon, so the Lord is no one's son, but he is the Father of everything that be. I want to just look at the Sanskrit really quickly, sorry, because I'm not understanding. So what is the connection between Malaya Hills and sandalwood? Mm,
So usually, like it's a very rare thing. That's why they, I think, like comparing it with Krishna and this because it is glorifying
okay,
Malaya Hills,
okay,
where that doesn't have
sure.
any value, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay, exactly. So the thing that is found there can be used to serve Lord Krishna. So it's
No, it's there, but I think it's because like they're saying Yadu is glorified because you came here. Like Malaya Hills are glorified
yeah,
because sandalwood is
yeah,
there, as there is
yeah,
no value.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because the thing that comes from there can serve Krishna. So that makes it glorious. Okay, wonderful. Text 33. Others say that since both Vasudev and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Prabhupada's purport. It is also said that Vasudeva and Devaki, in their previous birth as Sutapa and Prishni, underwent a severe type of penance to get the Lord as their son, and as a result of such austerities, the Lord appeared as their son. It is already declared in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears for the welfare of all people of the world and to vanquish the asuras or the materialistic atheists. 34. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Brahma, or the first living being born just after the creation, is the direct son of Narayana. Narayana, as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, first of all entered the material universe. Without spiritual contact, matter cannot create. This principle was followed from the very beginning of creation. The Supreme Spirit entered the universe, and the first living being, Brahma, was born on a lotus flower grown out of the transcendental abdomen of Vishnu. Vishnu is therefore known as Padmanabha. Brahma is known as Atmabhu because he was begotten directly from the Father without any contact of Mother Lakshmiji. Lakshmiji was present near Narayana, engaged in the service of the Lord, and still, without contact with Lakshmiji, Narayana begot Brahma. That is the omnipotency of the Lord. One who foolishly considers Narayana like other living beings should take a lesson from this. Narayana is not an ordinary living being. He is the personality of Godhead himself, and he has all the potencies of all the senses in all parts of his transcendental body. An ordinary living being begets a child by sexual intercourse, and he has no other means to beget a child other than the one designed for him. But Narayana, being omnipotent, is not bound to any condition of energy. He is complete and independent to do anything and everything by his various potencies, very easily and perfectly. Brahma is therefore directly the son of the Father, and was not put into the womb of a mother. Therefore he is known as Atmabhu. This Brahma is in charge of further creations in the universe, secondarily reflected by the potency of the Omnipotent. Within the halo of the universe, there is a transcendental planet known as Shvetadvip, which is the abode of the Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Lord. Whenever there is trouble in the universe that cannot be solved by the administrative demigods, they approach Brahmaji for a solution. And if it is not to be solved even by Brahmaji, then Brahmaji consults and prays to the Kshirodakshayi Vishnu for an incarnation and solution to the problems. Such a problem arose when Kamsa and others were ruling over the earth, and the earth became too much overburdened by the misdeeds of the Asuras. Brahmaji, along with other demigods, prayed at the shore of the Kshirodak ocean, and they were advised of the descent of Krishna as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So some people say that the Lord appeared because of the prayers of Brahmaji. 35. And yet others say that you appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service, of hearing, remembering, worshiping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. Purport. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that he appears in every millennium just to reestablish the way of religion. The way of religion is made by the Supreme Lord. No one can manufacture a new path of religion, as is the fashion for certain ambitious persons. The factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as the supreme authority, and thus render service unto him in spontaneous love. A living being cannot help but render service because he is constitutionally made for that purpose. The only function of the living being is to render service to the Lord. The Lord is great, and living beings are subordinate to him. Therefore, the duty of the living being is just to serve him only. Unfortunately, the illusioned living beings, out of misunderstanding only, become servants of the senses by material desire. This desire is called avidya, or nescience. And out of such desire, the living being makes different plans for material enjoyment, centered about a perverted sex life. He therefore becomes entangled in the chain of birth and death by transmigrating into different bodies on different planets under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Unless, therefore, one is beyond the boundary of this nescience, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. That is the law of nature. The Lord, however, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service, comprised of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto him. There's one missing. Cooperating is friendship, right? So, Atman, oh, I guess it's feet. Padyam?
I think this is
There's supposed to be nine.
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Uh, Serving is Dasyam. Uh,
Yes. Archanam, Vandanam.
Archanam is worshipping. Vandanam is praying. Dasyam Sakhyam. So,
Serving is there. Dasyam is
Dasyam,
there.
yeah.
Sakyam
Sakhyam
is
is cooperating.
cooperating.
And Atmanivedam. Yes, it's nine,
So what
right?
did we miss?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, why is it 8? Shravanam,
That's what I'm
Kirtanam,
saying.
Vishnu.
Padasevanam is missing
Yeah.
in this purport. Just anyway, just interesting. Okay. Adoption of all the above mentioned items, or any one of them, can help a conditioned soul get out of the tangle of nescience, and thus become liberated from all material sufferings created by the living being, illusioned by the material energy, external energy. This particular type of mercy is bestowed upon the living being by the Lord in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shall I pass the baton?
Chakravarti. Text 36. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in doing other in pleasure in or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna cannot be seen by a present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change the present vision by developing a different condition of life full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Sri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Shishupala were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless he have the necessary vision. The necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing about the Lord from right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc. by the people in general, but in spite of such hearing, sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord face to face. The reason is that first item, Shravana, is very important. Yeah. If hearing is from the right sources, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualification, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. Hearing. There are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In the Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the Asuras and others. And in the 10th canto, the sublime dealings of his conjugal associates, the gopis, as well as with his married wives at Dwarka were mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord, but sometimes people in unauthorized hearing process take more interest in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer, so a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulge in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures. and that will help the hearer attain perfection of the progressive development. One should not therefore consider that his dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachment. In all the above mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances. And hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants is conducive to spiritual life. It is said that the Vedas and Puranas, etc., are all made to revive our lost relationship with Him. Hearing all these scriptures is essential. One second. Okay. Text 37. O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us. Now, when all kings are at enmity with us, Shri Prabhupada's purport. The Pandavas are the most fortunate because with all good luck they were entirely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. In the material world, to be dependent on the mercy of someone else is the utmost sign of misfortune. But in case of a transcendental relation with the Lord, it is the most fortunate case when we can live completely dependent on Him. The material disease is due to thinking of becoming independent of everything. But the cruel material nature does not allow us to become independent. The false attempt to become independent of the stringent laws of nature is known as material advancement of experimental knowledge. The whole material world is moving on this fast attempt of becoming independent of the laws of nature, beginning from Ravana, who wanted to prepare a direct staircase to the planets of the heaven, down to the present age. They were trying to overcome the laws of nature. They're trying now to approach distant planetary systems by electronic mechanical power. But the highest goal of human civilization is to work hard under the guidance of the Lord and become completely dependent on Him. The highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with labor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. The Pandavas were the ideal executors of this standard of civilization. Undoubtedly, they were completely dependent on the goodwill of Lord Sri Krishna, but they were not ideal parasites of the Lord. They were not ideal parasites of the Lord. Okay. They were all highly qualified both by personal character and by physical activities. Hmm. Still, they always looked for the mercy of the Lord because they knew that every living being is dependent by constitutional position. The perfection of life is therefore to become dependent on the will of the Lord instead of become falsely independent in this material world. Those who try to become falsely independent of the Lord are called anath or without any guardian, whereas those who are completely dependent on the will of the Lord are called Sanath, or those who have someone to protect them. Therefore, we must try to be Sanath so that we can always be protected from the unfavorable condition of material existence. Wow. By the deluding power of the external material nature, we forget that the material condition of life is the most undesirable perplexity. The Bhagavad Gita therefore directs us 7:19 that after many births, one fortunate person becomes aware of the fact that Vasudev is all in all, and that the best way of leading one's life is to surrender onto him completely. That is a sign of Mahatma. All the family members of Pandava family were Mahatmas in household life. Maharaj Yudhishthir was held uh, was the head of these Mahatmas, and Queen Kunti Devi was the mother. The lessons of Bhagavad Gita and all the Puranas, especially the Bhagavata Purana, are therefore inevitably connected with the history of the Pandava Mahatmas. For them, separation from laws was just a separation of a fish from water. Srimati Kunti Devi therefore felt such separation like a thunderbolt, and the whole prayer of the queen is to try to persuade Lord to stay with them. After the battle of Kurukshetra, although the inimical kings were killed, The sons and grandsons were still there to deal with the Pandavas. It is not only the Pandavas who were put into condition of enmity, but all of us are always in such condition. And the best way of living is to become completely dependent on the will of the Lord and thereby overcome all difficulties of material existence. See one more shloka, text 38. As the name and fame of the particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit. Similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities along with the Pandavas and Yadus will end at once. Kunti Devi is quite aware that the existence of Pandavas is due to Shri Krishna only. The Pandavas are undoubtedly well established in the name and fame and are guided by the great king Yudhishthira, who is morality personified, and the Yadus are undoubtedly great allies, but without the guidance of the Lord, all of them are non entities. As much as the sense of the body are useless without the guidance of the consciousness, no one should be proud of his heritage, power, fame without being guided by the favor of the Supreme Lord. The living beings are always independent, and the ultimate dependable object is the Lord Himself. We may therefore invent by our advancement of material knowledge of all sorts of counteracting material resources, but without being guided by the Lord, all such inventions and in fiasco, however strong and stout the reactionary elements may be. Okay, I can do maybe one more shloka. Text 39. O Gadadhara Krishna, our kingdom is now. O Gadadhar Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your lotus feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. Srila Prabhupada's purport. There are certain particular marks on the feet of the Lord which distinguish the Lord from others. The mark of flag, thunderbolt, an instrument to drive an elephant, umbrella, lotus disc, etc., are on the bottom of Lord's lotus feet. These marks are impressed upon the soft dust and land where the Lord traverses. And the land of Hastinapur was thus marked while Lord Shri Krishna was there with the Pandavas, and the kingdom of the Pandavas thus flourished by such auspicious signs. Kunti Devi pointed out these distinguished features and was afraid of ill luck in the absence of the Lord. Shall we stop here? Start from 40 tomorrow. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Shila Gurudev, Jai Shila Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.